Good evening. Welcome to Grace Gavel. My name is Buffy. I'm an 18-year criminal defense attorney. And today we're talking about the spouses no one put on trial. Darlie Routier, Susan Smith, and the men who stood beside them. When a mother is accused of killing her children, the world immediately looks for monsters. But rarely do we ask a quieter question. What about the spouse? What did they know? What did they see? And why are they almost never put on trial legally or socially? Today on Grace and Gavel, we're examining two infamous cases through a lens most people skip, the husbands. Why the spouses become invisible in these cases. In criminal law, suspicion does not mean evidence. The public often assumes a spouse must know something. Silence implies guilt or complicity. But legally, knowledge must be provable. Participation must be demonstrative. Motive alone is not enough, and the law does not punish proximity. It punishes proof, which we all like because we would not like to be accused of a crime that our spouse committed when we had nothing to do with it. Case refresh, Darlie. The basics. So the basics of Darlie's case. June 6, 1996 in Texas, 2 young boys murdered. Darlie was convicted and sentenced to death. The case remains hotly debated. Enter the spouse, Darren. What we know, he was present in the home, asleep upstairs, and claims to have been unaware until after the attack. Publicly defended Darlie early on and never charged. Why? No forensic evidence tying him to the crime, no contradictory statements, no financial or insurance motive strong enough, and no evidence of planning or participation. Suspicion followed him, but suspicion is not prosecutable. And it's my understanding that to this day, he does still support Darlie. Legal analysis, why Darren Routier was never charged. The key legal standards that we must look at are probable cause. It requires articulable facts. Accessory liability requires proof of assistance. And conspiracy requires an agreement and an overt act. None of those were met. So the father of the children was never a suspect, never charged. Public disbelief is not legal evidence. Quick pause, guys. When I intentionally slow my evenings down and give my nervous system a signal to rest, I reach for Moonbrew. It's a warm cacao drink with calming adaptogens. No alcohol, no melatonin, just a gentle ritual. I will link it below in the notes. Let's talk about Susan Smith, the basics. October 1994, South Carolina. Susan Smith falsely reports carjacking by an African-American man. Later confesses to drowning her children, and she's sentenced to life in prison. The spouse, David Smith. What we know, he was the estranged husband. He was cooperative with law enforcement. He testified. He distanced himself publicly, and he was never suspected as a co-conspirator. Why? No evidence of involvement, clear timeline separation, no deception, no benefit gained. Here the narrative was simpler. Confession closed the door. Why David Smith was never a suspect? He had no evidence of knowledge, planning, facilitation, or emotional detachment does not mean legal guilt. Law enforcement followed evidence, not optics. And the thing about David Smith is he was clearly grieving in public, and people grieve differently. The double standard no one talks about. Mothers. There's the thought that mothers must be monsters. Emotional behavior is scrutinized. Public hatred. Fathers, assumed oblivious. Emotional restraint praised. Public sympathy. When a woman is accused, society looks for intent. When a man survives, society looks for tragedy. Why the law stops where the public does not. The law cannot punish shock, grief, or emotional distance. The law requires evidence, causation, and action. Justice is not satisfying outrage. It's about meeting burden. Why this matters now. These cases still shape jury expectations, media framing, and gendered assumptions. They teach us why emotional narratives distort justice, why restraint matters, and why spouses are not default suspects. In both of these cases, the husbands were not put on trial, not because they were loved, protected, or perfect, but because the law could not justify it. Justice doesn't ask who feels wrong, it asks what can be proven, and that needs to continue. If this episode changed your assumptions, share it. These conversations matter, especially when they make us uncomfortable. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you have a great rest of your day and a happy new year. And if there are topics that you want us to look into, feel free to drop them in the comments. And also, we would appreciate it if you like what we're doing and you want us to do a topic that you're interested in, feel free to drop it in the comments. And also, we would love it if you would like and subscribe. Thank you so much and have a great day. Bye-bye.